Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Making Transitions series. This series came about as a response to the 2020 pandemic, in which many people experienced significant changes in their lives. My approach, when we don't know what changes are coming next, is that the best option is to mentally prepare ourselves for change. In this first episode, I look at a way to overcome information overload when people just feel overwhelmed in many circumstances from too much information coming in. I became interested in this topic when I noticed many people who are working from home now were struggling. Why were they struggling? Two key reasons. First one is they're used to having their work with a personal touch, in the sense they have a lot of human interaction. And now, when they don't have that personal touch, they feel somewhat imbalanced or unsure, and this causes a lot of unproductivity. The second key reason why they're struggling is that they're using old habits in general to do their work that were formed a long time ago in completely different circumstances, and now they're applying these habits to events that may be completely inappropriate. So, this causes people a lot of stress. However, I see this new paradigm as a perfect opportunity for people to improve and refresh. Why? Well, people's old routines have been knocked out of the way. They're having to look at things with a different perspective, whether they like it or not. And when you look at things with a different perspective, you become more aware that there are multiple perspectives, multiple ways to look at things. And if there are multiple ways to look at things, then it actually means you have a choice in how you look at something. And if we have a choice in how we perceive something, then we might be able to find what's the best way for us to perceive something. So I came up with a simple solution on how to handle information overload by using the concept of role plays. I'll give a brief overview in this video, and there'll be a link at the end and links below that lead to more information on it. For now, I'll tell you about the 3 phases. First phase is filtering, making a to-do list. Second phase is arranging, where you allocate the tasks effectively. And the third phase is handling, how you go about actually completing these tasks. So for the first phase, we imagine ourselves in the role of a traffic conductor. So you're standing at a road of some kind, and information is coming to you. Perhaps it is coming from work emails or phone calls, and you have a traffic light system of a red light, an amber light, and a green light. For each piece of information that comes, you examine it and determine, is this a task that is relevant to me or not? If it is not a task, something completely irrelevant, then you hold up the red light and say bye-bye. If it is something where you think, that's something I have to deal with, you hold up the green light. So you say, bring it on in, and for the moment we put it in a basket. We'll deal with that basket in phase 2. And sometimes information comes along and you're not sure at that moment when you examine it, is this a red light event, which means bye-bye, or a green light event, which means I'll deal with it? So what you do is you use amber light. With the amber light, it's told to wait. During this waiting time, you go to someone who might be able to give more clarity on that information, or you do some quick research yourself to determine whether it should be a red light event, which means it goes away, or green light, which means you deal with it. The beauty of this traffic conductor system is that it's simple and unambiguous. Many people struggle when they're filtering information because they feel it's ambiguous and they have doubts because their emotions come into play. Once the traffic conductor has examined and filtered through all the pieces of information at the present time, move on to the second phase, the arranging phase. In the arranging phase, imagine yourself in the role of a planner. We have this basket of tasks that have gone through the green light, And the planner's role is first to pick up a task and examine it and think, what skills would be needed to complete this task successfully? For example, a task that's essentially about evaluating would need evaluator skills. And then take a task and you put it in a group. And in that group, you would put all tasks that also need similar skills, tasks that are all essentially evaluator type of tasks. You might pick up another task and say, oh, at its heart, this is a coordinating task. And so you would put it in a group where all the tasks in that group would be essentially coordinating type of tasks. And for all the tasks you have from the basket, you put them intelligently in groups, whereby all the tasks in those groups need similar skills to deal with them. And the second aspect of the planner's role is, once they have the group, to see if there are any urgent tasks in that group. If there are, you begin to prioritize that group. And then you make a list of groups in terms of priority, what should be dealt with first. Once the planner's done that, it's time to move on to the third and final phase, the handling phase. In the handling phase, we have our groups, all containing similar tasks to each other, and we then imagine for each group, what would be the appropriate role for someone to handle the tasks in that group. For the evaluating group, you could imagine a judge or assessor, an examiner, who would be the appropriate person to work through those effectively. And then you imagine roles for each of the groups that you've made. When you've done that, you begin to work on the top priority group in the role that's appropriate for that. And then, as best as you can, continue to work only on the tasks in that group until the group is empty. When that happens, you switch roles and move to the next group in the appropriate role to deal with the tasks in that group, and so on until all the groups and all the tasks are empty. There are two key benefits to this approach. The first is that by having this role play as handlers, there's much less mental shifting of gears in your head than if you were to just attempt tasks on a first come, first served basis or an essentially random basis. And this less shifting of gears means it frees up a lot of your energy to be able to do other things. And the second key benefit of this approach is that by taking on role play, you create a safety barrier between yourself and the challenging aspects of the task. And with this safety barrier, the emotions are off of the front line. That allows you to keep a cooler head, use less energy, and be able to make better rational-based decisions than if you were doing it from a much more personal perspective. So by taking this approach of role plays of the filtering, the arranging, and then the handling of the tasks with the appropriate roles, we end up saving a lot of energy, and also we're a lot less muddled. So by taking on this role play, what we've done is freed up a lot of energy that we could use elsewhere. And I have another approach that I'll explain in the next video on how we can put that energy to good use. So I look forward to you tuning into the next video.